Evan Smith, editor-in-chief of the Texas Tribune, joins me from Austin to discuss endorsements by newspapers for Attorney General, Comptroller, and other important down-ballot offices and how they don't matter. And in my last word, why it's folly to elect our judges. Texas Week starts now.
This week's most important stories, people, and issues in depth. This is Texas Week with Rick Casey.
4 years ago, Bexar County District Attorney Susan Reed defeated Democrat Nico LaHood with 54% of the vote. The campaign was very confrontational, with Reed pointing out LaHood's drug arrest from 20 years ago and LaHood arguing that Reed's performance in the job has been substandard. Fast forward to the rematch. I met with both Reed and LaHood this week at the Pearl Stable in what is their first and could be their last joint appearance in this campaign. Nico, let's start with you. On your website and in your advertising, you are focusing heavily on one particular issue, the issue that Bexar County has the largest per capita child sex abuse rate in the state. And
correct.
You seem to be blaming District Attorney Susan Reed here for that. Why do you think it's her fault, and what would you do to change it?
It's not. There's so many factors that go into child abuse rates, right? But the district attorney should be leading the discussion and bringing people to the table, and that's not happening. When you look at the child abuse rates and the repeat offenders for child abuse rates, and then you look at our low conviction rates for indecency with a child, sexual assault on a child, and then you know that we don't have the district attorney's office involved in the investigation on the front end, all that leads to looking at the actions or the inactions of the current district attorney in addressing this issue. You just look at 2,400 cases when she took office, and now there's 6,000. There's something that needs to be discussed.
Here's the deal. He is using numbers that are CPS numbers, the 2,500 and the 5,500. They claim that those are their confirmed is what they call it, abuse and neglect. Now, of those, last year, of that 5,500 number, 800 were referred to us. So the CPS does the initial investigation, and the neglect, as they define it, can be someone who's maybe drunk at home, that the neighbor calls and says, you know, there's something going on over here. So first of all, the numbers he's using are completely misleading to the public.
They're CPS
Secondly,
numbers, Rick.
well, they're CPS numbers.
Right.
But you don't quite understand the system, Nico, because you've never even worked in it. Because
Ms.
let
Reed,
me
I do,
tell you,
because
no,
these are
you
criminal
don't.
complaints, Ms. Reed.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. They're alleging that a child was neglected or abused. That
And
is where the
under
district
the
attorney should
terms
sit in.
of neglect, because it's not criminal abuse that they're necessarily talking about. I'll give you a very good example.
And I'll respond.
You take the 10 that are listed as fatalities. Of those, 5 were referred to us for prosecution. We have indicted all of them. Mm-hmm. 1 year, there were 20 listed as fatalities. 8 of them were referred to us. We took action on all of those. One of them we had to dismiss because the ME changed their mind and said it's undetermined. This isn't a homicide. The medical examiner
We're talking
changed
about doubling.
their mind.
The numbers have doubled, Rick. We're talking about doubled. These are
And you know why
criminal
that
complaints.
is? The
These are
Blue Ribbon
criminal
Task
Wait,
Force
let
did
him
it.
finish, Susan.
I understand that she doesn't want to talk about these issues, and that's fine. But the numbers have they've doubled. And then when you talk to anybody dealing with child abuse cases, you know there's substance abuse problems. Over 95% of issues are with substance abuse. She's never been a supporter of specialty courts. She's never been a supporter in the past.
That's malarkey.
No, it is. It's not malarkey.
It is malarkey. I have been
But-
involved in the children's substance abuse court. I've been involved in all the drug
Rick, all you have to do is
specialty
talk to the
courts.
judge.
I want to get a little bit deeper
Just ask the
into
judges.
what happens with these cases.
That's flat out lying.
No,
Nico.
it's not.
It
Ms. Reed, you know
is.
that.
Listen, I have
All
signed
right,
MOUs on them. I
stop.
have prosecutors
Susan,
in them.
Susan,
Lying
no,
is when you
hold
say
on.
you have a 99% conviction rate, and that's absolutely not true, and that's what she ran on last time.
I want to understand this a little bit better. CPS makes a determination. Do the police get involved in investigating before it comes to you, or does it come directly from CPS?
They send them to CPS, to the police.
That's a criminal investigation. Exactly.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right.
And those are the 800 that eventually come
wait a
over
minute,
to
Nico,
us.
you're saying that you're using numbers then that suggest that the police don't really filter them through before bringing them to
They're
her.
not, Rick, first of all, let's be real clear, and Ms. Reed said this, they're not my numbers. I'm
Okay.
not pulling this out of the air.
No, but what I need
saying,
to understand is how many cases actually come to her ready to prosecute, because I don't believe that she has a large staff to go out and do her own
well, she has
investigation.
a 27, almost a 27 this year, Ms. Reed, $27 million budget. I mean, so my contention is that we should be involved early on. What
And
they
we
do in
have-
CPS, excuse me, Ms. Reed, I'm sorry. In
Well,
CPS
you can be
cases-
sorry all you
Susan,
want.
Susan, let him finish, please.
With the CPS cases, what I'm suggesting, they use the family code. If we're doing criminal investigations, we need to work under the penal code. We need to merge those two together. There's a disconnect, and that's the problem. We're not addressing substance abuse issues, and we're not getting the district attorneys involved and also lawyers involved on the front end. And that's why we had this repeat offender situation.
Well, actually, you're wrong, because the family code, if you want to merge the family code and the penal code, you better go to Austin to get it done, because they have different definitions.
They can work together.
We also represent CPS in only a legal way. We don't make their decisions for them. In court, we have a great working relationship with Child Protective Services and the judges that handle those cases. And so we are involved in a drug abuse court over there, where we try to
Okay,
come in
I want to go in a
front.
different direction right now.
But she's
So
not
I think we've
suggesting
mined
she
this
needs
as much as we're going to
CPS's
usefully do
She
it.
doesn't need CPS's permission to prosecute. I mean, I
I
hope she's not
don't.
suggesting
And let
that.
me
Okay.
tell you, I prosecute the cases that are brought to me. I have 34 attorneys in doing child family violence work.
31% conviction rate.
I have
31%.
No, you're wrong
No.
about that. I have
In
an
2000
89%
no,
conviction
where
rate.
are you
You
getting
are
those numbers?
absolutely
Where are you
wrong.
in
Because let me tell you what
2007
you do. You
Yes, ma'am.
manipulate your numbers.
Absolutely not true.
And you do. Because you
In
take
2007,
dismissals.
Ms. Reed,
You
let me
include
finish.
No, let me finish, young man.
Ma'am, please don't be disrespectful, please. I'm talking to you
let
right
me
now.
tell you.
Okay.
In
You are-
2007,
No, wait a
Rick,
minute.
in 2007, Express
Nico,
News.
I'm going to let Susan at this point finish that
She
point.
tries to bully, and I'm not going to let her bully
I want to
me,
know.
sir.
I want to
I'm
know
not.
about these numbers, because they really. You're saying low 30s. She's saying 89%.
Express
Let
News
her
reported on it.
explain
Yes, sir.
hers.
That's
and
fine,
then you
as
can
long as she lets me
explain.
talk.
Thank you. And I am very passionate about this, because I know how much we care about this. That's why I get upset. That's where it's coming from. But let me tell you what he does with his numbers. He takes, for instance, he'll include dismissals. Now, am I supposed to prosecute somebody who's not guilty?
I would say
Am I?
not.
No.
I think most people wouldn't like that. Yes.
If we have to change a charge, we have to refile it, because perhaps the testimony changes. He includes all of that.
No, I don't.
Yes, he does.
No, I don't.
And
Hold
I'll
on,
tell you
hold on.
what.
Finish up and then.
And I've looked at his stuff, and I'll tell you what, the cases we decide to proceed on that are good cases, we come up with a 89% in front of a jury, an 88 overall. These are just on child cases. It's a lot higher on the others.
Okay, Nico,
We
you-
can
I talk?
argue
Yeah.
numbers all day long.
Okay. Well, we're going to do a little more arguing numbers now. We're going to get
Let's
into
talk
something
some
else.
facts now, because I mean, I respectfully disagree that it's not passion, it's defensiveness. 31% conviction rate. When Express News reported that she had a 31% conviction rate, and 18 cases were tried to a jury. Forget about changing charges or plea bargains. 18 cases tried to a jury, 18 acquittals. This is a list over the last year and a half, Rick, and it's on websites, of acquittals, not guilties, from aggravated sex assault of a child to capital murder to assault on a public service.
So
This
now,
is
now
being...
we're moving beyond.
We
this,
can move past
this
it
sex
to just
abuse case.
ineffectiveness in the office.
Let me ask you. He attacked you in an ad about this. You've raised questions about his role in the past as a defender of sex abusers and also as a special prosecutor. Tell us about that.
Well, if you will listen to his commercials when he talks about all the fabulous things he's ever done, one of them is that he's been a special prosecutor. So I looked to see, well, what kind of cases have you been a special prosecutor on? And for your public, that's where we have a conflict, and we have to remove ourselves, and you're an attorney pro tem, actually.
So you had a case
And
in which
so
one of
he
your
had
employees had a
one.
relative up for. Yeah.
I had one that was on an employee, the only sex assault, aggravated dealing with a child case that I know he's had in Bexar County, one case
As a prosecutor.
as a prosecutor.
in Bexar County.
And he recommends 10 years deferred adjudication, takes it from aggravated sexual assault to indecency with a child.
With registration.
And it
that was
happened
not,
in the
and I'll tell you
187th.
what happened on that. Joe Gonzalez was the first chair prosecutor. You know that, right? You don't want to mislead the public, do you?
Joe was involved in
okay,
it,
see,
as
we,
were
we
you.
forgot that. We forgot that. Joe
we
Gonzalez
didn't.
was the first chair prosecutor. I came in to try the case. We actually picked a jury. Did you say that? We picked a jury because they didn't take what we thought was appropriate. We had a 15-year-old victim that we couldn't get to her because the mama wouldn't let us get to her. And you understand the difficulty with that. So we made sure that that person still registered for 10 years. We did what was right. We sought justice. She wants to cherry pick one case here and there, and she wants to take a snapshot and not look at the panoramic
I'm
view,
not
Rick.
cherry picking anything because
Absolutely
it's
she
his
is.
only one case, but he turns around and he criticizes
County, Karnes
me
City,
when we have
Wilson
to do
County.
the exact
let
same
me ask you a
thing.
question, Nico. In those other counties, how many felony sexual abuse of children cases have you had?
To go to trial, that was the one. I've handled other ones, but that was the one that went to trial.
So you still think it's fair to say that's cherry picking?
When she's trying to criticize that one situation, Ms. Reed, with all due respect, has not tried a case in over 20 years. That's an issue. That should be an issue for anyone. There's 100.
I'll try and get to that issue.
Okay, I'm
But
sorry.
Meantime, there's another issue that has come up in the race. It seems that a Corpus Christi plaintiff's attorney, who's done very well apparently in plaintiff's attorneys' cases, Thomas J. Henry, has given you just under $700,000 so far in the race.
Yes, sir.
Help us understand why he would do that.
Sure. I can't speak exactly for him. I can tell you what our conversations were. In the primary, I approached him like all of us approach, like you have your list of donors that have helped you for over 20 years, correct? And so I approached Mr. Henry, did not know him. He said, I'm not going to get involved, Nico. I need to research more. I need to research Ms. Reed and her office, research you. Well, I mean, this is the answers. I mean, if you don't like the answer, I'm sorry, but these are the answers. I'm going to do some research. And he didn't get involved. Once thankfully got by the primary, we met again, and he got involved. He has the same concerns with abuse of power, with unfair prosecutions, and then with these child abuse cases. And in his opinion, these are his words, that this administration over 16 years has put a black eye on our justice system. And so he's committed to a cause, and he's committed to affecting the justice system, affecting child abuse, lowering those numbers. And he's been committed to that, if you do any research on him, for years and years of charity work.
Do you understand that for many voters, the idea of one person, what percentage of your total campaign contributions is that?
It's for this quarter, it's a vast majority of it. But as Ms. Reed knows, last time I raised $450,000 when I ran against her in 2010, and she outspent me still. These are not unheard of numbers. And then she's trying to make it seem like there's something illegal here. The statute allows Ms. Reed to take $3 million from somebody.
In Texas, you're allowed as
Yeah,
much.
but I think that's not clear to the audience.
Other than some questions about the full-page ad, he asked him whether it gave proper disclosures to paper. There have been no legal questions.
No legal
Susan,
questions.
I'm sure you've looked into Mr. Henry. What's your theory on this?
You know, I think Mr. Henry is trying to buy an office in this community that is
He's a plaintiff's lawyer. He's a
irresponsible
plaintiff's
is that
lawyer. Why would he do
statement,
that?
Let me tell
How
you
irresponsible
something
is that statement?
that is not irresponsible, because I'm looking at a motive, and that's what we end up doing. And anybody who would take, first of all, a candidate who takes
Did I break the law?
$700,000 from one individual,
Did I break the law?
you broke a moral compass. Do you
Moral
have to
compass?
have it
Are you
written
saying
down for
our
you?
legislators are immoral? That's what you're saying. That's
Do
the
you
law.
have to have this written
I mean,
down
this is
for
the
you?
Let me move this on.
This reeks of desperation,
Have you
Rick.
learned anything in your research about Mr. Henry? Do you have a theory about why he's giving that much?
My theory is he's trying to buy a very powerful office here. You know, what can I tell you?
Absolutely wrong.
What can I tell you?
Okay.
I don't think he's that great that anybody's going to invest $700,000.
Okay, I would like to-
Sorry you don't
Let's
think I'm
not
that
focus on Mr. Henry. Let's focus on him.
We
How
are.
about we focus on
I
you?
want to
Let's
get
talk
to. I want to get to
taking
one more issue.
$700,000
While we've got a
$16
few
from
minutes late, I
one
want
person.
to get to one more issue.
All deflection.
There has been a movement among both conservatives, the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and liberals to do what they call smart justice. And actually, San Antonio got favorable notice on NPR and elsewhere for diverting people from the mental health, people who go to jail because of mental health issues, into other programs. How has your office played into that? And I want to ask you how you would work on
I
that.
am right in the middle of leading Bexar County in reference to changing our magistration system, to have better accountability, to have better mental health evaluations at the get-go. I have been doing this with a Dr. Tony Fabello in Austin, who is a member or the research backer of the Council of State Governments, on which I happen to be on the board, Justice Center, We have approached commissioners. We have their full support. We've got the judges involved. We've got the clerks involved. Because here's what I'm worried about. When I look out at mass shootings, I see that most of these people have been somehow touched somewhere by the justice system. And we are not identifying them. When they go through magistration, we figured that when we looked at last year's numbers, we decided that there were probably 800 people who could have benefited from services at the very front end in relation to mental health that they weren't getting, should have been getting. And we're changing all of that.
That was my platform last time. I mean, so she says she's leading Bexar County. She's been in office for 16 years, and now we're just talking about it. Last time I ran on the restorative justice model, Rick, remember? I was appointed to the first set of attorneys in the drug court program here by Judge Sid Harrell. I was appointed as a magistrate by 5 Republicans and 4 Democrats. I served as a magistrate judge.
For 6 months?
No, you look at the records, Miss Reed, please.
Was it?
Oh, let me
You tell
finish.
me.
Can I finish
How
talking?
many?
Let me talk, please. Okay, so we did that. I talked about this restorative piece. Senator Cornyn, Ted Cruz are all talking about it now that I've been talking about for years. $50 a day to incarcerate a nonviolent offender, $5 a day to try to rehabilitate them. I've been talking about that for years now. She resisted it. You can ask any judge involved in the justice system. She's coming up on the back end because it's politically beneficial to her now, but the facts speak for themselves. Miss Reed is entitled to her own opinion, but she's not entitled to her own facts, and the facts are the facts.
I'm afraid this is going to be the last word. Very quickly, Susan.
Certainly, Rick. What is it?
Oh, I wanted to know if you want to respond to that very quickly.
Oh, on mental health? Oh, no. I have been involved with this for quite a while. Now, he's talking about two different kind of things.
That's going to take care of it. All right. This has been a very fast 17 minutes. Thank you.
It's spirited, right?
Very, very, very spirited.
Thank you for showing up, Ms.
Thank
Reed.
you very much.
And thank you for being here,
Yes,
Nico.
ma'am.
Evan Smith, editor-in-chief of the Texas Tribune, joins me from Austin to discuss endorsements by newspapers for Attorney General. And the other down-ballot races. There are races besides the governor and lieutenant governor.
You wouldn't know it, Rick. Wendy Davis and Letitia and Dan Patrick and Greg Abbott, they suck all the air out of the room. But the fact is there are plenty of other statewide races on the ballot this cycle, as there are every couple of years. And yet voters don't pay attention, although newspaper editorial boards do.